coming down the track.
Who's that coming down the track?
It's a mean machine in red and black.
Mean machine in red and black.
Ain't nothing finer in the land.
Ain't nothing finer in the land.
Them drunk obnoxious Georgia fans.
Them drunk obnoxious Georgia fans.
Go, go! Go, go!
What's up, y'all? This is John, Mike, and Caleb. What's up, y'all? This is John, Mike, and Caleb. All right, we're back. We're good. No, the stream, for whatever reason, hasn't been working the last couple of weeks, so I forgot to go in and mute that because it'll just keep playing through my headphones every word we say.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's annoying. But what's up, y'all? This is John, Mike, and Caleb back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. As always, you can find us on Millions Sunday nights, 8 p.m. And as a part of the Fans First Sports Network. Tonight, we're going over the absolutely insane final week of the regular season. Yes, I am crying while I say that, but we are here.
Hopefully, Georgia is only 75% through its season games, but we can only
That's a
hope.
good point. That's a good point. Yeah, no, the weekend was just nuts.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about my experience because I was at the game. But how have y'all been? What are you drinking? Hopefully your livers are not in pain from Friday night still.
Yeah. Oh, no, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, my liver, no. My heart is still re-regulating. My liver's fine. But yeah, that was good. I got to watch that game. A couple years ago, my dad built just like a big man cave barn. And then the family hadn't used it yet to watch a game just because it never worked. So Friday night, everybody got together. We did our family Thanksgiving and watched that mess unfold there. And if you're gonna christen this thing, it's a good one to do it on.
It's memorable.
Yeah.
Good.
Sure. No, I'm doing good. We just got back from Orlando Saturday afternoon, so just in time to watch Michigan Ohio State, which we'll definitely get into. But certainly, I have thoughts if you can believe that. But
Really?
Yeah, who would have thought? No, but I mean, no, that's good though. I'm not drinking. I just have some water. Going into like championship season, I try not to drink because when I don't drink, we win, and that's the last superstition that can get debunked for me. So
There we
going
go.
sober the rest of the season. So shout out me. How
All
about
right.
I won't get into too much, but because a lot of it is going to have to do with the game. Y'all, I am still cold.
I bet.
We were laughing about it just 8 overtimes like this. You were complaining about the cold like before the game even started, and what ended up lasting 4.5 hours or something like that.
Yeah. My wife and I were talking. Well, my nephew and I were talking about Arian Smith. He dropped a pass and we were dogging him. And my wife's like, "It's got to be really cold out there, guys. He's trying." And I was like, "It can't be that cold." And as soon as I said that, you sent a message about how you couldn't feel your hands and feet. And
Well, that's the first time you could use that excuse this season, though.
that's true.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get into this game. I mean, the rivalry feels back.
Yeah, I have.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I have a whole section lined out in my notes just to shout out Brent Key and Haynes King for making it feel like it mattered.
Yeah.
Friday night, we didn't want the game to be that close,
Right.
but we wanted this game to feel important again.
I'm okay with it being that close, not that long.
Yeah, there.
No, bad on us when we were talking to Rec Tech about wanting this game to be close every couple of years. I mean, in retrospect, it was fun, but at the time, I did not have fun for that entire game.
Yeah, we'll appreciate this one in the offseason.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, what Brent Key has been able to do in his short time at Georgia Tech so far, for where they were to where they are.
Mm-hmm.
I truly, and a lot of Georgia fans especially would be upset when I say this, I think it's on par with what Kirby did at Georgia from where Georgia was to where it got in 3 seasons. You know,
Yeah.
I,
Similar level of improvement.
yeah,
Yeah.
the levels of improvement are the same. Georgia Tech went from beating the bottom of the barrel teams and struggling in every other game and losing most of those to beating a top four Miami team at the time and
Yeah.
then taking Georgia to 8 overtime.
Yeah.
I think
They
in the
were two.
broadcast, I think in the broadcast they said that Key was, I think he 6-1 as a underdog against ranked ACC teams or something like that. Like, dude is a
Yeah.
giant killer,
Yeah.
and we almost saw that.
He went 2-1 this season against top 10 opponents, and one of the loss was in 8 overtimes. And
Yeah.
now we can forget about the fact that one of the wins was against Florida State. But, still going 1-1 against top 10 opponents even, and one of those going to 8 overtimes. Pretty remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do want to emphasize the weather. I've said many, many, many times on this show, I am a bitch when it comes to the cold. I admit it. I do not have a problem with saying it out loud, and I have put it on the internet plenty. At the end of the game, when we turn the car on, the thermometer that tells you the outside temperature said 32 degrees.
I think that's freezing.
Yeah, that is the point where water freezes. And the worst part is in the lower bowl, they were kind of protected from the wind because of the way the stadium's set up. If you're familiar with Athens, there was probably a 10-mile-an-hour consistent wind coming from Sanford Drive into the stadium. My seat's in 320, just to the left of the scoreboard. So my face got 10 miles an hour of wind when it was already in the 30s outside for 4.5 hours.
Sounds like a blast.
Winter blast.
Yeah, no, I learned a very valuable lesson on Saturday. Dollar General hand warmers don't work.
Oh no.
You do get what you pay for, I guess.
Yeah.
They weren't even that cheap.
Oh.
Dollar General was just the one place that we passed from my in-laws to the stadium that we knew would have something.
Fair.
And I put hand warmers in my boots, hand warmers in my pockets, and hand warmers in my hands. And it was, I shit you not. We got back to my in-laws at 3 in the morning. Long game. Took a while to get back to the car. Took even longer to get out of Athens. Then we went to Waffle House in Winder. Big thing. I was trying to immediately get some warm drink on my vocal cords so I could have them today. If you can hear me right now, you know that it wasn't 100% effective. It's good enough that I'm going to talk tonight instead of, be a little bitch like I was this morning. But yeah, so we got to my in-laws at 3 in the morning. I still did not have feeling in my toes when I got up on Saturday morning. Part of that, to be fair, not necessarily my fault. Every time I lose weight, my blood pressure drops significantly. Over the last couple of years, I've lost 80 pounds. So my blood pressure is low again, which means right now in my house it is 62 degrees. My fingers are numb. So I understand that both my mind and my body are little bitches in the cold, but that shit was miserable.
Yeah, I take back what I said about wanting Georgia if, God forbid they, lose and have to go on the road in the playoff. I want them to play like at Penn State or something like that. If it's cold, no. We saw what happens when it's cold. We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I had some little pint bottles of Jack Daniels in my boots, and without those, probably would have left at halftime because of how much I hate the cold.
And decent amount of people.
Less to do with the game, just because of how miserable I was.
Yeah. Well, nothing motivates this man quite like alcohol. So.
Well, it just kept my core warm. 2 t-shirts, a sweatshirt, a jersey. I wrapped myself in a blanket during overtime because I couldn't I just couldn't be cold anymore, and I wasn't gonna leave at that point.
And there was a lot of overtime to get through.
A lot of timeouts too. Every overtime.
Yeah.
Like,
Legend
every
says
single-
Kirby just called a timeout.
Yeah.
I think also Georgia Tech just faked another injury.
Yeah.
Right.
Just pretty wild there.
Somewhere another Georgia Tech fan is also screaming about the officiating.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
But, I mean, man, that just physically was awful. And then on the way home, I was talking to my wife, and I was like, I'm gonna have to like triple down in some warm clothes, and instead of 2 pairs of socks, maybe do 4 if Georgia gets a home playoff game, because I'm not gonna miss it,
Right.
but I will not be that cold again.
Knowing how Georgia weather works, it'll probably be 60 at a home playoff game. It's always warm around Christmas time.
Yeah.
Or snowing. We had that.
We did have that once.
Well, in North Georgia at least. Not if it snows in Savannah, shit got real.
Yeah. It did snow here in Augusta a couple years ago, and it got pretty real.
Yeah.
All right, so now I'm done bitching about the weather for a minute. We all know how this game went. Georgia Tech scored 17 points. Peyton Woodring missed a kick wide right before the half to
Everyone in my family said we just lost the game, by the way, when that happened.
I said that about 12 times.
Same.
Yeah.
Georgia's first score came with 9:53 left in the third quarter, 2-yard pass, Carson back to Oscar Delp. Some reason they decided to go for 2.
And
I
Aaron Murray on Twitter still is asking why we went for 2 at that point.
Don't
He doesn't
give
know.
me
I don't know.
Don't give me the analytics excuse. Like,
Right. Well, they tried to do that on the broadcast.
I know.
It made no sense at all.
Kirby Smart said that in the post-game press conference, and I'm like, that doesn't. You don't gain a single thing by getting 2 points there. You know what you could have gained by kicking the extra point? Not 8 overtimes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. It really does not make any sense. Every Georgia fan, I don't know if you heard it on the broadcast, but there was an audible, fairly loud, like boo after the 2-point conversion failed, because everybody was like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Yeah.
Well, and
you could hear it
too. Good God.
You could hear it. I was wondering if there was a flag or something, and I was like, "Oh wait, no, it's just a dumb decision."
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, once again, don't know if you heard it on the broadcast, but Georgia fans did boo Carson Beck towards the end of the first half. It probably was in general to the offense.
I was gonna say probably more towards Mike Bobo than Carson Beck. If anything.
Yeah, because the first
which
half,
I'll get to him.
The first half, man, it was. I don't know why Bobo does this. It's like the first half of most of these games are 2010 play calls: inside run, screen pass,
and that wasn't even the worst part of the first half. Is the thing, like he didn't help, but we had 5 possessions in the first half because the defense couldn't get off the field. I'm sitting there, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Gonna wrap up.
Yeah,
it was tough. Yeah.
My best friend, and I posted this briefly to my Instagram after a certain touchdown when I thought the game was definitely irreversibly over. Where one of my friends texted me, "Who is our defensive coordinator and what is his home address?" And I told him Glenn Schumann lives at 1 Don't Tackle Anyone Lane. Because we weren't doing that all night.
Yeah, that aspect was just, and especially because Georgia had done so well at that throughout the season, up until the game against UMass, really.
Yeah.
All season.
Apparently, Brett Thorson's advice didn't help.
Apparently not.
Yeah, they didn't take him seriously.
All season, you could count on 2 things from this Georgia team: the secondary giving up a pass, and then immediately one of KJ Bolden, Malachi Starks, or Dan Jackson making that guy wish he did not catch that pass.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing
2 weeks, you can't count on.
Is not happening until we'll get to it.
But we all know Haynes King touchdown run directly towards where we were sitting. 5:37 left in the game. ESPN's win probability had Tech at 98.6% chance to win.
Poetic that it was normal human body temperature, considering yours was well below that at that point.
Right.
Oh, I was seriously concerned because it wasn't just that like, oh, my feet are cold. Oh, like I legitimately could not move my toes at that point of the game. I told my wife, I was like, I'm gonna take my socks off when we get to the car and crank the heat up. And if they are weird color, we got to go to the hospital because I don't know what to do at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, dude, Haynes King, certified freaking dog. He had 26 to 36, 303 yards, 2 touchdowns in the air, and then he had 24 carries for 110 yards and 3 touchdowns. And of course, he had that very, very costly fumble for them, which again, shout out Dan Jackson.
Yeah, the defense very clearly did not think he was going to be able to throw the ball. They played 3-4 all night instead of the usual nickel. They dropped a defensive back and put a linebacker in because they thought we're just going to stop the run, which didn't work, which scares me. But they were not concerned about him throwing at all. They didn't even adjust to that later in the game, which I thought was odd.
Well, we were led to believe in the Rec Tech interview that Haynes King can't throw more than like 10 or 15 yards.
Yeah, and that's if you again you listen to the press conference after the game, that's what Kirby expected.
Yeah,
that's what we saw during warm-up sitting in the stands.
Right.
He did not throw a pass further than 15 yards, and none of his passes during warm-ups were accurate.
And see, what that leads me to believe is dude just went out there and said, I'm going to win this game. I don't care how bad it hurts me. Which, if that's the case, slow clap, Haynes King.
Shout out him, man.
Respect.
Yeah.
And he'll probably be back next year, too. So, shit.
Yeah. Don't tell me that.
Damn it.
How much money can we pay him to transfer?
I can tell you at the beginning of the second half, I said one of the worst things I've ever said as a football fan.
Oh.
They were moving the ball, and I said, Kirby needs to put a random walk-on safety onto the field just to target Haynes King so bad that he cannot play the rest of the game.
I mean, it would have worked. It would have worked.
I mean, and Tech lost a bunch of DBs in this game. I think they lost 4, so that helped Carson out quite a bit in the second half.
It did.
Were they actually injuries? Because there
were a number
of them that when we were watching the game from the stands, it was guys that looked over the sideline and fell down.
There was a point.
Georgia got a first down. Look at the sideline, fall down.
There was a point at the game where there were 4. They were showing a graphic of at least saying that those 4 had not been back in the game. Yeah. But very possible that they just kind of did that and didn't pay attention because it is ESPN and ABC.
Right.
So, from an in-stadium perspective, I know I've heard from multiple people that Jesse Palmer, noted Florida bum, said something about the stadium clearing out.
Joe tested too, but he was just kind of playing off of the Bachelor there.
So here's the thing about the stadium. 10% of the crowd left at halftime. At 100% fact, right? Another 5 left after the third quarter, and another 5% after that, after the Haynes King touchdown with 5:37 left to go. The stadium was louder in overtime than it was in the first 4 quarters of the game. Because the people that were there were actually fans, were committed, believed in the team. And it got loud. I think at one point, 115 decibels with 80% of the stadium, and I would say 20% of that 80% were Tech fans. There was a bunch of Tech fans there. Stadium was still loud as hell. Mm-hmm. Once again, I did ask my wife if we could leave because if we're going to lose, I'd like to be warm.
Fair.
She's a trooper. She did not allow me to leave, and I'm very glad.
Good on her.
Shout out
Kelsey.
Yep. Kelsey's the hero this time because after the Haynes King touchdown with 5 minutes left, that's the point when every Georgia fan was like, it's over. It's over. There's absolutely no way. I picked up our stuff and started walking, and she grabbed my arm and said, "Sit your ass back down." Okay.
On a scale of 1 to I'm going to need a liver transplant on Sunday, I'm drinking so much to erase the pain, how upset would you have been if you had left and saw that everything went down like it did and you weren't there for it?
Oh, with how much I hate the cold, maybe a 6,
Okay,
6.5.
fair enough.
Like
Fair enough.
I was mad enough that I at one point seriously considered punching a Georgia Tech fan and like trying to beat their ass to go to the stadium jail where they have TVs and heaters. Like it was a
they have
legitimate
TVs in
thought.
there?
And they would have got you there quick too. So.
I would think they wouldn't have TVs in there. I guess you don't want to punish the cops who are watching out, I guess, but I feel like it'd be a good punishment not let you watch the game.
It was a legitimate thought for about 5 minutes.
Fair
I was
enough.
like,
if you're gonna do it, go down swinging at a Tech fan. It'd be funny.
Yeah. And to be honest, there were within 5 or 6 seats of us, there was probably 3 or 4 Tech fans. And they were all great. Had fun conversations during the game, just kind of like how we do on the show when we have guests, just friendly shit talk. And then right when Georgia got that final 2-point conversion, I turned around to shake their hand. They actually live in Statesboro. They were driving back after the game.
Oh, nice.
I was going to shake their hand and tell them to be safe on the way home, and they were already in the tunnel leaving. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
I was trying to be friendly, you know?
Those guys, if you're listening, you're not. But if you are, we missed the handshake.
Yeah, I was trying to be friendly. And apparently he was so cold, he bought a blanket from one of the stores at halftime in the stadium, and it was a Georgia
got
blanket.
This Georgia blanket on.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I could do that.
I wouldn't do that.
He immediately threw it on the ground, and somebody picked it up and took it home with him.
Okay, well that's good. At least he's not keeping it. Not taking it away from a. All right, that's just considered a donation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this game, absolutely insane. I am glad that I went. I am glad my wife forced me to stay. I've been like. Ole Miss game last year, it was like 50 degrees and raining. I would rather have 12 Ole Miss games every year than one game like this. I was miserable. It was awful.
Yikes.
I had a chance to get free tickets to this game too, but we were out of town driving back Saturday morning.
Worth a 13-hour ride. You know that now.
I you know what? I tried.
Would it have been with the cold? I don't know.
I don't know. And then I would have drive. And then I would have had to drive back to Savannah, and that's a scary drive for anyone that does that from Athens to Savannah. I'd rather not do that at night and like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you'd have been there, I would have just. And the game went like that. You would have just slept on my in-laws' couch, and I would have told them the next morning because that was too much.
Yeah.
They wake up first and find some strange man on their couch.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been like a phone call and been like, hey, my friend came up for the game from Savannah, is supposed to drive back tonight. We're not going to get to our cars until 1:30. He's going to sleep on the couch. But oddly enough, there were some people that sat next to us that literally live on the island right next to me that tried to stay till the end of the game, and after the 4th overtime, they were like, I got to drive back tonight. I've got to leave. Like, I don't want to, but I have to.
Yeah, it's like a 20-minute difference. Like, come on.
No, it was not. It was a solid 45. But by that time, they were able to get to their car and put it on the radio before the game was over.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Man. Let me tell you, I'm going to turn into hype man for just a second.
Let's go.
I got to tell you, there's something that infuriates me about this Georgia team, but I love it at the same time. And it shows you that Kirby Smart did not build his program this way by accident. I've said it before. I said it after the Ole Miss game. This Georgia football team is not good, at least not to the standard that Kirby Smart has set for this program. That's what we call good now, is national champion caliber team. This team is not that. They can win the national championship, but they're not the dominant, Stetson Bennett team. But what they do really clearly have, probably in a clearer way than we've seen from any other Georgia team in the Kirby Smart era, that Georgia DNA, those 4 traits, the toughness, the composure, the resiliency, the connection, those were very much on display in this game Friday night, all over it.
Can I pause you real quick to give some stats to back that up?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, UGA Football Live on Instagram. Never had interactions with them, but they put out some great information. Statistically, this is the most resilient and battle-tested team in the country, and it's not close. It's the most resilient and battle-tested team that Georgia's ever had. Trailed in 7 of the 10 games versus power conference teams, 4 straight. Overcame halftime deficits to beat Kentucky, Florida, and Georgia Tech. Overcame double-digit deficits to beat Tennessee and Georgia Tech. Came back from a 28-point deficit at Alabama before losing on the final play of the game. Overcame 3 interceptions to beat a heavily favored Texas team in Austin. And
number 1 team in the country, by the way.
Have not scored a first-half touchdown in 4 of the 10 games versus power conference opponents.
Yikes.
Not ideal, but yeah.
Still 10-2.
Yep.
Yeah. And that, when you get a team like that, it does not matter that the defense started the game with almost no tackling. It didn't matter that the offense got 0 points once again in the first half. I think 0 points in the first half for the first time in like 5 years, from what I saw.
That sounds like
a
a 2019 stat for sure.
Yeah, James Coley for sure.
It was 2019. It was against Kentucky, not South Carolina.
Kentucky, yeah. Well, I was at the South Carolina game. I remember it too well to think it was South Carolina.
Yep.
That was a miserable day. Most miserable walk to Raising Cane's I've ever had.
Yeah.
2019 South Carolina got brought up quite a number of times in the stadium as soon as it went to overtime.
Because it had been the last. Yep, that was the last time we lost, and that one went to overtime too.
And Kelsey was like, "I've never been to an overtime game in Sanford," and I was like, "I have."
Yeah, me too. But yeah, it also didn't matter that Georgia Tech was up 2 touchdowns with 5 minutes left in the game. I sure thought it did. I was like, all right, guys, see you later. My wife had already put my daughter in bed. I was watching on my phone. I had left the rest of the family at the barn. They were all still there. And I was just like, whatever, that's it.
I do got to say, though, I had a little bit of faith, not a ton at that point, just because I saw, they've made comebacks like this before and resilient again, like you talked about with Alabama. But I think I said maybe in the group text or chat, I was like, we have seen this movie before. Like I was scared to get my hopes up. Like I thought they'd come back, but I was waiting for that.
Yeah, you said that, and I was like, oh, Mike, you poor child. But you know what? You were right.
We were the poor children.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sure were. But yeah, do you see why Kirby has made toughness, composure, resiliency, connection, these 4 core traits of this Georgia program? Because even when this Georgia team, again, isn't up to the standard, we can come back from behind 2 touchdowns with 5 minutes left of the game, gut out 8 overtimes, and find a way to win. And I get this wasn't a team that we should have beat, but you know what? We can go to the home of the number 1 team in the country, and even after giving up 3 turnovers, force 4 of our own and beat a team by 2 touchdowns when we're not even favored to win the game. Like, there's a reason Kirby built this program this way. And while I am, again, very angry at him for not going for that extra point and making me go through all of that, I am really glad he's the one running this football program. There were people after that touchdown saying on social media, after that Georgia Tech touchdown that put them up 14, that we needed to fire Kirby Smart.
Our fan base can be so fucking stupid at times. Golly, man. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to say it. We're spoiled. We really are.
Yeah. But over the next hour plus, though, all of those folks are proven wrong. And now there are plenty of other people on the staff that you can I will happily support you in saying, let's get rid of them. Kirby Smart is not that guy.
Correct.
But those 4 DNA traits, no one man on this team exemplified those 4 core traits more than Dirty Dan Jackson. Really the entire season, but this Friday, boy, we'll get to it, though. We will get to it.
Tyke Smith on Twitter, I think after the game or maybe in the Saturday morning, said that if Dan Jackson wasn't a walk-on and the story wasn't well known, he would be getting serious NFL draft buzz. I don't think he is at this point. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't paid it.
He might have earned a little bit. He needs to. Whatever team, if somebody...
The thing about Dan Jackson is if he's not, first, second round pick, he'll go in the 5th or 6th round.
A Philly with Cooper DeJean have like an all-white secondary. Let's go, exciting whites.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but I was going to say the entire NFL media sphere after the end of OTAs and training camp are going to be like, man, this Dan Jackson kid's good. And everybody in the SEC is
Senior
going to be
Bowl.
like, we
Duh.
know.
Senior
We
Bowl,
are
he's
well
gonna be
aware.
Senior
Mhm.
Bowl, he's gonna be the big name coming out of that. I would
He
bet
will.
money on it. That was
Oh
a
yeah.
bet I can make.
He will. And any team that scouts actually watch film instead of just say, his 40 wasn't under 4.4. He's not good enough for our team.
Yeah. Some journalist only gave him 3 stars in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody that actually watches film is going to realize that Dan Jackson is a top 5 safety in this NFL class.
Facts.
He'll have a better career than Lewis Cine.
Yep.
Yep.
That's not
Yeah.
saying a whole lot. Or I love Lewis Cine, but it was tough.
Yeah, I was gonna say, arguably, he's already had a better college career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do you guys have anything else you want to bring up? We're gonna have to go through the rest of this pretty quick, but I do feel like we need to touch on officiating for a second because we haven't
Yeah.
yet. Georgia Tech fans are very upset about it. In the stadium, you could see probably a little bit better than of certain things than you could see on the game tape. The officiating was just bad. It was not in Georgia's favor bad. It was just bad.
Yeah, they called, I think, 8 penalties all night and
Mhm.
missed a lot. Like,
Yeah, they
you
probably
want to talk about
missed 80.
missed targeting? When that Georgia Tech kid got put on a stretcher, it's because he was trying to take Arian Smith's freaking head off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it comes to Georgia's very first time they touched the ball in the game, Cash Jones running down the sideline on a kickoff return and gets tackled into the bench.
Yeah.
That's 8 yards out of bounds. No call there. It was actually a play that they scored a touchdown on. 3 of their offensive linemen were already pulling before the ball was snapped.
Yep. Saw a lot of those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no call there. Every screen they ran, their wide receivers, when they were blocking, were completely outside of the frame, back to the play, and pulling Georgia's defender to the ground. None of those.
There were several pick plays that weren't called either that I feel like normally
Yeah.
get called.
Couple of chops that didn't get
Yeah.
called. Like, it was all
Yeah.
around. Like, I don't think the Dan Jackson hit was targeting. To be
It
perfectly
was
clear.
not based on
But
what
Matt Austin
told us.
Yep.
Because
So, but
both
even
But we
if
were
guys
waiting on
lowered
it.
their head at the same time, and it was contact with the side of the helmet while the quarterback was a ball carrier.
But I was waiting for the ball to literally drop on us. Like, oh, we got a good play. Psych.
yeah, even if if it was targeting, they would have called it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
even if it were,
Especially because the
Don't
turnover
give up a
was
17-point lead.
reviewed.
yeah.
Like,
So they would have done targeting too in that case because they've done that before. But yeah, maybe again, don't give up a 17-point lead and you don't have the problem.
it's fair.
That's the moral of the whole weekend. If you don't want,
Okay.
yeah, never
Or
mind.
maybe a 21-point lead in the case of other teams that we'll talk about.
All right, y'all.
I
we do
I
need
do
to
have
get
one-
to some awards. If y'all anything else?
I do have one quick thing. So
Go for it.
we were again in Central Florida watching this game right before Nate scored the game-winning 2-point conversion. I don't know if I shared it with y'all or not, but y'all might have seen it. But in Orlando on their news station, they cut into SpaceX, like one of the, like, I don't know if it return or takeoff or launch or whatever, but it took up like 95% of the screen. I could barely see when Nate scored, and I was happy that he scored, but I was like, of course.
My stream was buffering. I had to close out the app before the ball was snapped, and when I got back in, the game was over.
Oh.
Oh, pain.
That sucked.
Yeah.
All right.
But my stream was behind, so I also got a text at one point, or the group message from Wes at one point. After we got that PI, he messaged, that's pretty much it, or the game's over, or something like that. And I didn't see the thing yet, so I thought they had just gotten in and won the game. And he scared the daylights out of me.
Also, should not have been pass interference on that call, but we're beyond that.
We're
Game's
way
over.
past that.
Can't change it now.
Yep.
Side note, I do want to bitch about SpaceX for just a quick second, right?
Okay.
At this point, if you listen to the show for long enough, you all know by this time, we're all pretty sure I'm autistic. It is what it is. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with space. Too poor growing up to ever make it down for a
Space Camp.
launch of any sort.
Oh, yeah.
I was just in Orlando for a week. I have been checking the website of scheduled launches every day for 3 months to try and see if they were going to do a launch.
They did 2 while I was down there, but we couldn't make, or 3 while I was down there, we couldn't make out to any of them.
They did one while we were down there that was rescheduled from a week before, and they posted it on the website an hour before it launched.
Whack.
I could, as much as I appreciate Elon Musk for what he is, I could fight him right now.
Yeah.
I'm big man. Big, got that autistic strength. I'll beat his ass,
Hey, so does he though. Don't dismiss him that quick.
Right.
But we got to get to some awards because we are kind of limited on time tonight. Who's taking offense?
I can do it real quick if you want.
Yeah,
I got some other stats pulled up for him. So we're gonna give it to Carson Beck. 5 total touchdowns. He was 28 of 43 for 297 yards, and again 5 touchdowns. Again, came alive in the second half. When it looked like, I think at one point, I don't know what Tate said to him, but he looked kind of dismissive and kind of pissed off. But I think that kind of lit a fire up under him, and he played pretty well after that. So Carson with 5 touchdowns. Shout out him.
Mm-hmm. Big time. Defense, you already know. Dirty Dan Jackson. 6 tackles, 4 solo. That's not what it's about. He got the big forced fumble on Haynes King that gave us a chance towards the end of that game. Had some really big moments, stopping 2-point conversions as well when it got into overtime. Just personally took it in his hands to make sure Georgia did not lose this game.
Yeah, Dan Jackson's presence on a lot of plays changed the play.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, for this week's.
Mr. Walker went 16 yards. He drove right over Orange Church, just driving and running with those big guys. My God, a freshman.
Player of the game, y'all already know it is Nate the Great Frazier. I don't know what his nickname on the team is, but that's what we're calling him because as a kid from Compton, to be as committed to Georgia as he is, just for example, very first touchdown he ever scored, Todd Gurley, Sony Michel, and Nick Chubb celebration all in one. The commitment he has, saying he wants to be one of the all-time greats, running back university, how he fought in this game, 11 carries for 50 yards, 1 touchdown, and that 2-point conversion where I don't know if it was emotions or just the wear and tear of the game at that point. He had to get picked up off of a knee after that 2-point conversion. And
iconic.
To be fair, the entire team, when you see that end zone footage, looks like they are not individually standing at that point, but they are holding each other up, which goes back to what Kaleb was talking about with connection, resiliency, toughness, composure. But that last play, I truly believe will live in history alongside Sony Michel's walk-off in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
And all of these other great plays, considering the situation.
The Ringo pick six, it's right up there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been on the reel of pregame hype stuff forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just the celebration, the guys picking him up as the fireworks are going off, all time, absolutely iconic moment for the University of Georgia. And man, this kid's fucking 18 years old.
Yes, we get him for we get him for 2 more seasons, guys. 2 more. Enjoy it. And
the Lumberjack Award, Cash motherfucking Jones.
Let's go.
Ooh.
Cash Jones.
Boomst.
So Cash Jones in this game, 1 carry for 2 yards. 4 receptions, 53 yards, 1 touchdown. And that touchdown was the touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the touchdown that made the game. Like he should not have scored there. If we're being entirely honest, we can watch the film. He made guys miss, and he was completely horizontal to the ground, 5 feet in the air, to ensure that he was either getting seriously injured or getting in the end zone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was no option 3.
No, he was either getting carried out of that building on a stretcher or getting in the end zone. And that touchdown was quite literally the last straw for my voice up until about 3 hours ago. Because as soon as it happened, high five the people around us, hug Kelsey, give her a kiss, and I am just screaming "who" at the top of my lungs, and she's saying Cash Jones until I go, huh, and nothing else comes out. No, literally nothing else comes out.
Again,
And
worthy use of the voice, though.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was 100% the final straw. Was about the fourth who, and halfway through the H, gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I may have done permanent vocal cord damage during the rest of the overtimes because I was still giving 100%. But I hate the sound of my own voice anyway, so maybe it'll do some help.
Sound a little raspy, a little manlier tonight than usual.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Wearing socks.
Mike, your pride and joy.
Yeah, we'll let you.
I will. I'll try to go through this as fast as I can, but it's going to be a bit of a victory lap for me.
I couldn't even watch this. I was shooting clay pigeons and looked at my phone. I was like, "Oh, Michigan won."
I mean, okay. So to be fair, like the game itself isn't really worth rewatching. I mean,
oh yeah, no,
yeah, no, it's not. Not at all.
It was which incompetence is less incompetent when it comes to football.
But first of all, credit to me on the preview pod for saying that Michigan would cover and possibly win. I wasn't ready to go full out and say they would win, but I threw it out there. Again, it wasn't so much my belief in Michigan. It was my belief in Ryan Day fucking up.
Which
valid.
We all should have been there.
Yeah.
To be clear.
Yeah. So Michigan won the only way they could have, with again Ryan Day being a shook little bitch and getting in his own head. With Michigan was out without Colson Loveland and Will Johnson, inarguably their two best players. Like that is their team on defense, and then Colson on offense, obviously.
Now that's weird because Alabama fans have told me for 3 years now that if you don't have your two best players on the team, you can't possibly be expected to win. You should throw the whole thing out.
You would think.
Yeah. Khalil, running back guy.
Mullings. He was. I mean, he had one huge run in that game where he should have been bottled up, and it should have been, had to go to. Should have went to fourth down, but he kind of like Donovan Edwards got stuck in the pile and then just kind of busted out.
Like Blake Corum.
Well, no, they both
not a Donovan Edwards play.
Well, no, Donovan Edwards had it on last time they were in the horseshoe. Kind of had a similar play where he kind of. I mean, he went a lot further, and Donovan Edwards is
okay.
Like Mullings is not.
I was thinking you were talking about like the ESPN College Football 25 Donovan Edwards, not like 2 years ago Donovan Edwards.
No. Like the last time Donovan Edwards was good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
we're on the same page now.
Yeah. But Ohio was a 20-point favorite going into this game. I mean, it went from like 23 to 19 and a half, like all week. Like it went all over the place. Michigan can't throw the ball. We talked about this. I think Davis Warren finished with like 63 yards and like 2 picks. I think I don't have
62
up, and it's not
yards.
worth it. Okay, so
9
I was
of
close.
16.
What was this game?
Okay, well, I'm going to skip around a little bit. Ohio State missed 2 field goals. One of them was a chip shot.
I didn't realize Noah Ruggles was still there.
You spent $20 million on a roster, and you forgot to get a fucking kicker. Like, what in the name of Nick Saban are you doing?
So the other one wasn't necessarily a chip shot, but it wasn't far from it. It was like a 35-yarder. It should not have been difficult for a college kicker.
Right. The one was a chip shot. Like it was bad. But yeah, so in the last drive that Michigan had, and I talked about the run already that led up to this, but Ryan Day tried to call consecutive timeouts he called a timeout, and then the ensuing play, they had 12 men on the field. He tried to call a timeout. They wouldn't let him call the timeout because you can't do
if
consecutive
we're being
timeouts.
entirely honest, 2 years ago they changed this rules. College football coaches, if they attempt to call a second timeout within the same in between play period, which it was supposed to be a 15-yard penalty, Ohio State sneaks out of trouble yet again. Just saying.
But they got the penalty. But Michigan did get a penalty for 12 men on the field, and they got the first down out of it. It was close enough down there where the yardage they would have benefited was like negligible. Like it wasn't a ton. It might have been like 2 or 3 yards. But so gave Michigan a first down there, and then they ended up kicking the game-winning field goal with like 45 seconds left. Ohio State lost this game because Ryan Day tried to make a point and be the tougher team, which clearly he's not.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State
Toughness
is not
one
that.
thing you do not associate with Ryan Day. Just for men, absolutely. Toughness, no.
No.
Can you imagine the tears and just the hair dye just coming down his face after this game, press conference and all? I'd love to see it.
His salon got a call 10 minutes after the game was over.
Girl, I need to get touched up. But but yeah, they lost because he tried to be the tougher team and run the ball, and they couldn't do it. Ohio State's offensive line is in shambles. Like they're not what they were to begin the year.
Well, their center is Alabama center from last year. That should tell you everything you need to know.
Kaleb Downs and that center lost to Michigan twice this year.
Let's go.
That's what everyone kept saying too. So I can't take credit for that, but it is factually true. But they refused to throw to Jeremiah Smith. The one touchdown to Jeremiah Smith that had to tie it up at the end of the first half, he got away with OPI on that. Like it should have been called. It wasn't, but whatever. And that was like, I think that may have been the last time he caught a ball. I could be wrong. He didn't have a good game. Will Howard, utter trash. Kyle McCord, after the Miami game was like vindicated. I couldn't feel better for a former Ohio player more than I felt for Kyle McCord after this game.
Did you see in his post-game press conference the question that was asked? Somebody asked him how it felt to beat Miami with the day he had on just after Michigan beat Ohio State again. And he said, "Everything goes full circle." Any other questions?
Baller. I love.
Yeah.
This awesome. I mean, I feel great for him. But just some stats here, and I may be a little bit all over the place, but Ryan Day is 41-7 against Big Ten teams not named Michigan.
47-1.
Oh, I misspoke. Yeah, 47-1. 47-1. I think the one loss is against like Penn State or something like that, right?
Oregon this year.
Yep.
There we go. Shit. Yep. I won, right? And again, mismanagement of that, they choked.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talked about that earlier this year. But yeah, 47-1 against Big Ten teams not named Michigan. He's 1-4 against Michigan and lost to easily the worst Michigan team since Brady Hoke's last year, or even Rich Rod's first year, going back to like 2008. This team is not good. They have gotten better coaching. They've done what they could. Only 2 Michigan players on offense were on the team from last year, or started last year or whatever. I think that's what it was. But a couple other things. He sat there as his captain was crying about Michigan trying to plant the flag at midfield. He acted like he didn't know what was going on. Ryan Day clearly knew what was going on. He was like, "Oh, what's going on?"
And then said he was proud of his players.
That should get him fired right there. I mean, pretty much everybody said the same thing. It's like, "Oh yeah, you want to be tough now and fight after the game. You should,
fight during the game."
So they couldn't plant the fucking flag.
Yeah,
but that's not Ryan Day style. Can't do that. He didn't even try to break it up. At least Norvell tried with the Florida game, ripped off the Florida flag and threw it. Like I can appreciate that a little bit more than when it
Norvell got chest to chest with some Florida players.
Yeah.
Norvell
he got in Billy's face
hands.
too. Yeah, he got in Billy's face too a little bit.
Yeah.
He didn't shake his hand. Yeah. So I mean, as much as I don't like Mike Norvell, props to him for at least showing. Yep.
Yeah.
Because Billy could probably kick most coaches' asses, I would think. But
depends on how much meth he smoked at the Waffle House parking lot earlier.
Yeah, Michigan. So, fun fact: Michigan allowed both Oregon and Texas to plant their flags at midfield in Ann Arbor, and just went back in the tunnel.
All right, I got two notes.
Okay.
One about the flag thing. A few years ago, under Urban Meyer, who is objectively a significantly worse person than Ryan Day,
Yes.
Oklahoma and Oregon planted their flag at the 50-yard line at Ohio State. There was zero fighting involved. Ohio
Yep.
State was already off the field in the locker room getting their ass chewed out because they had an actual football coach. He may be one of the worst humans to ever coach a football team, but he was a football coach.
Hell of a coach. Yeah.
Number two, as the most expensive roster in the history of college football, $5 million more expensive than any other roster in the history of college football, Ohio State players should be professionals.
Yep.
You are getting paid significantly way too much for this. And I understand. I've already potentially lost a friend for this take. If you refuse to admit that your team did anything wrong by one, starting a fight after this has already happened on your field multiple times, you didn't do anything, but because it's Michigan, not a single player on your roster has ever seen a victory over the Michigan Wolverines. You decide to do some shit. That absurd.
And they came back on the field. They were walking off and they saw the flag getting planted and they came back. That's probably even worse. Ryan Day did nothing to try to squash that. He just playing fucking dumb, which not hard for him. But there's Ohio State players that came out on Twitter afterwards saying like kind of really like burying Ryan Day. Like they did it last year too, but even more so this year. One of them said, I can't remember who it was, said that he knew Ryan Day wasn't fit for the job when during the 2020 national championship against Bama, at halftime when they were down, instead of like trying to make adjustments and talk to the team, he didn't talk to the team at all. He was just bitching out coaches and throwing people under the bus. Did no coaching whatsoever.
So back to the fight.
Yeah.
The fact that Ryan Day said he was proud of his team, absolutely not okay. The fact that Ohio State Patrol, while Ohio State players were legitimately 3-on-1 or more jumping Michigan players who are not involved in the scuffle and Michigan coaches who are not involved in the scuffle, those Ohio State Patrol officers were pepper spraying Michigan players. They should have criminal charges pressed on them.
And they talked about if Ohio State should have won that, they were going to let them storm the field and do all that stuff. Could you imagine what the fans would have done to the Michigan players on the field or everybody? Like, don't give me that shit. It's about player safety or anything like that. Or
no,
trying to squat.
And somebody tried to tell me something about property damage. Fun fact: Michigan attempted to plant the flag on the field. It has a rounded plastic bottom. It's not going in the dirt, and it was like 30 degrees. Nothing is going in that dirt without a shovel. So don't tell me about property damage because I guarantee you the fight did more damage to that field than a rounded plastic bottom would have done. So I understand there's a lot of Ohio State fans going to be upset about this, but the player's character, awful. The coach's character, somehow worse. Yeah. And the fact that you guys are defending them, when if that happened at Georgia players are leaving the field in handcuffs.
Right.
Kicked off the team. That happens at Penn State. The entire coaching staff fired, the entire team suspended, and the NCAA is putting the program on probation. That happened at almost any other university in the country. Severe, harsh, and immediate repercussions happen, but that happens at Ohio State. The coach is proud of the team and not a damn thing happens. The problem is 1,000,000% Ohio State. Michigan was wrong. Michigan was wrong. But the lengths Ohio State took it to and the fact that their fans are defending literal assault when Michigan State players went to jail and got kicked off the team for that same shit last year is asinine. And I truly hope at some point you get your head firmly removed from your ass and actually realize what happened on Saturday.
And you got fans spitting at players coming off on and off the field, throwing piss bags at buses.
I mean, that's happened for 20 years with this game.
Yeah, but Ohio State fans have not been the like the definition of class by any means. I don't know. I can go on and on about it, but just one last note that I have. After the 2020 game got canceled between Michigan and Ohio State, Ryan Day obviously was like super mad and wanted to show off his tough team that he has. He said that he would hang 100 on Michigan. He's yet to do that in 4 games. He's only scored 84 points in 4 games. Hasn't got that 100 yet. So
taking an L in each of them, by the way.
Yeah, 0-4. And again, I have a 5-game winning streak against Ryan Day. So shout out.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just very funny. I forgot the fact that the year they made it to the national championship, they didn't play Michigan.
Potentially the only reason they made it to the national championship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do we want to just smash cut to our SEC championship opponent?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So one note on the Miami game. LOL at Miami. They got exposed.
Yes.
Once again.
Love you, Fran Brown. What a dog.
What a dog.
If you have not seen Fran Brown's midfield interview after his fans are storming the field, go watch it. You will miss the fact that he is not on Georgia's staff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Texas in College Station playing Texas A&M.
Didn't live up
It's
to the
weird
hype.
that all of A&M's traditions are talking about Texas. 3-minute songs, the sawing thing, the Midnight Yell guy talking about Texas. Side note, we didn't do Midnight Yell because I was still inside of Sanford Stadium.
The game was still going.
The game was still happening. I didn't even think about that because I was watching the game. But I will tell you the 3 things that caused Texas to stay in this game. Mike Elko never taking the points for some reason. He was allergic to it.
Big facts.
Yep.
Marcel Reed's fumble, obviously. Third thing is they don't have Dan Jackson on that roster. They could have won the game. Just imagine going down 17-0 at halftime and then losing the game. Couldn't be us.
Can't be me. Yeah, or us.
17-0 and getting 2 turnovers with Texas in the red zone.
Yeah.
And a blocked punt too. I mean,
and a blocked punt, and you have 7 total points.
Just pathetic from Mike Elko. Absolutely pathetic.
How did Texas A&M beat LSU? Everyone's asking.
People asking.
Yeah.
Quick note on South Carolina at Clemson. LOL at Dabo once again. The broadcast.
Maybe not. I mean, he ended up still getting the ACC championship. Yeah.
This week.
Yeah.
The broadcast mentioned every 3 plays that Shane Beamer and Dabo were friends in the offseason. And honestly, I could see it without them saying it. They're both weirdos.
Yeah.
Yeah, players
very similar people.
Yeah. South Carolina's a team that nobody wants to play. We saw that last weekend. They're on a 6-game winning streak, which is their longest since 2013, which, if I'm not mistaken, they made it to the SEC championship. No.
They sure. No, that was Missouri, but they came close.
No, Mizzou.
2013, yeah.
They were 13
because Mizzou made it.
South Carolina was 10.
Yeah, because Auburn
know.
steamrolled them and then won the national championship.
This is their longest winning streak since the head ball coach was in Columbia. Yeah. And, nobody wants to play South Carolina.
Yeah, I did confirm Missouri played Auburn in the 2013 SEC championship game, lost 59-42.
Phenomenal game.
Gosh.
Once again, another game. If in June you're missing football, go back and watch that. It was so much fun.
I'll tell you what. Just looking at that score, any offense is lucky to have Gus Malzahn running things.
Man, to be Florida State next year.
Golden Knights.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we've run a little bit long tonight, so we are going to skip a couple of games. I hate it, but is what it is, just kind of on time constraints. But as always, follow us on social media at nothing.finer.pod on Instagram, at FinerPod on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Look us up. You will find us there. Rate and review the show 5 stars. Share us with legitimately anybody that will listen or not. Just put it on their phone. But most importantly, there's nothing finer in the land
than a drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan.
Nailed it.